We're now going to view two surgical procedures that show the 5 critical skills for light touch CK. First of all, centration needs to be very accurate. This was a Strauss CK marker made by Katina that was used for this case. After placement of the original spots, the surgeon should make sure his hand is as steady as possible by triangulation on the tip with both hands. The probe is placed into the cornea, fully seated. The corneal indentation pressure is then released to a point where there's minimal mechanical stretch of the epithelium. This is seen nicely inferiorly with the light reflex. There's about a 1 millimeter indentation or stria around the tip just prior to beginning of the radiofrequency pulse. The surgeon can also watch the light reflex. As they seat the probe, the light reflex will go to the other side of the pupil and then back to its original spot once the probe has been seated and released. And then as the pulse is being delivered, the light reflex will change shapes, becoming oval and then more round with each additional spot. It's important, which you'll begin to see now with the last 4 spots being placed, for the surgeon, as he's delivering the radiofrequency pulse, to watch the cornea very carefully. The corneal surface will usually contract away from the surgeon about halfway through the radiofrequency pulse, which lasts 0.6 seconds. As the epithelium, as the cornea does contract away, it is very important for the surgeon to follow the retraction of the cornea with additional downward pressure of the tip. This allows the probe to remain fully seated throughout the entire delivery of the radiofrequency pulse. If the surgeon is too superficial, if the surgeon does not allow the corneal stop, the probe stop to remain in full contact with the cornea throughout the procedure, then there's a fair chance the patient will have regression early and to a greater extent than both the surgeon or the patient would desire. After the surgery, antibiotic drops, a 3rd generation quinolone, Acular LS, and a steroid are placed on the eye. On the second eye, we're now beginning with the second spot, and I'm specifically showing this case because it shows the posterior following pressure that's so vital to make sure you have full depth. Once again, the probe is fully seated. A 1 millimeter ring of compression is noted prior to starting the pulse, and with the pulse that just was delivered, one sees an excellent following pressure. An astute surgeon will also notice that I'm placing each one of these spots just peripheral to the 7 millimeter spot pattern, and that on this patient I was trying to achieve somewhere just under a 1.5 diopter response for her distance eye. Once again, the probe is fully seated, perpendicular to the corneal surface. Biomechanical stretch is released by allowing there to be no compression forces at the time of the beginning of the radiofrequency pulse. As the pulse is being delivered, which is starting right now, the probe is gently pushed posteriorly as the cornea contracts away from the delivery of the radiofrequency pulse. This consistent maneuver with each of the 8 spots allows the radiofrequency pulse to have a maximum effect, a consistent effect, allowing the patient to have a reliable post-op refraction and minimal induced cylinder.